Perfect. As Eve mentioned, my name is Allibhai. I am the lead lecturer at the London College of Contemporary Arts, and I also contribute as a fashion director for F-Trend, which is a online fashion platform for the fashion industry. This presentation today has been put together by myself, but also researched by some of my students at the London College of Contemporary Arts, forecasting students. And what we decided to do is put together a presentation which is basically looking at jewelry's impact in the world of fashion, entertainment, music, culturally, a little bit of trends, and hopefully talking about a celebration of like designs in Germany as well. Okay, can we go to the next slide? Oh, it's here. Oh, perfect. So let's start by looking at the world of jewelry and celebrity. So obviously this world has been intertwined with celebrity and fame. So from royal engagements to bespoke pieces for today's biggest stars on the red carpet. We can go to the next slide. Oh, I've got a clicker. Oh, wow, fabulous. I've arrived. Okay, so the first part of here, as you can see in the corner, does anyone know who or have heard of Wallis Simpson? Yeah. So Wallis Simpson was renowned as a bit of a jewelry icon back in the day. Some would say she was the OG Meghan Markle in terms of obviously what happened in the royal family. But Wallis Simpson, as I say, was a bit of an icon in terms of jewelry. And then next we can see Kate Middleton and Princess Diana wearing the sapphire engagement ring with Princess Diana's. It was very much an engagement ring which was made, which was in celebration of her husband's love for, well, her ex-husband at the time now, love for golf. And obviously the similar ring was recreated by Prince William for Kate Middleton. In the middle here, you can see the trilogy engagement ring, which is made by for Meghan Markle, which was actually designed by Prince Harry, using diamond cuts from Botswana as well. And then you've got Lewis Hamilton, who, again, I think has really revolutionized how men's jewelry is worn and sewn as well. So anything from like crosses and chains. And then German designer David Morris has been known to create bespoke pieces. As you can see, there's a piece here worn by Kim Kardashian. His pieces are also worn around the runway across the world as well. Okay. So moving from jewelry and celebrities leads on to jewelry and film. As you can see, there's been a lot of historical moments with jewelry and film. From The Great Gatsby to Black Panther, obviously Cleopatra with Elizabeth Taylor, Marlene Dietrich, and so on. But looking at jewelry and film and television, as you can see, there's a lot of iconic pieces. So Marilyn Monroe, everyone knows the film Gentleman Prefers Blondes. Obviously, the biggest iconic moment there is diamonds are a girl's best friend. It's also Ash's best friend too. So again, that's an iconic reference there. And then you've got a lot of the older people may remember. So Dynasty, which was like a massive show in the 80s, famed for big shoulder pads, but also it created its own iconic jewelry moments as well. So looking at, big sort of colorful gemstones, structured pieces. But then we've moved forward within the times, obviously, shows like Ugly Betty and Empire, which featured Cookie Lion, took the excess and inspiration of Dynasty, but obviously created lines, fusing it with modern hip-hop culture as well. And then in the right-hand, the left corner here, the iconic Titanic necklace, again, with the blue diamond. Obviously, they went to the sea. You know the story about Titanic. I don't need to go through that. So yes, this is some of the pieces of obviously jewelry in film and television. I love the piece at the right top-hand corner, which is the Carrie Bradshaw necklace, which is basically a necklace for self-empowerment and also just, showcasing about... it came out at a time when obviously self-purchasing was a big thing for women in jewelry. So a lot of people were getting like necklaces. I don't know if you remember, there was a trend in the early 2000s, sort of late 90s, where there was a trend where women were buying pieces of jewelry with their names on, whether it's a bracelet or a necklace or what have you. And a lot of that was getting inspiration from the Carrie necklace from Sex and the City. Okay. We're now going to our next slide, which we're going to look at moments in jewelry as well and music. Music and jewelry, again, go hand in hand, very much similar to music and film. Jewelry and film. And there's been a lot of iconic moments. As you can see, a couple of images on the slide here, through Erykah Badu to Lady Gaga and the piece of jewelry that she's wearing with the meat dress. So there's been a lot of iconic moments. To talk about some of the things here as well. So Janet Jackson, obviously, a lot of her recent film images have been shown with her love of tribal jewelry. So a lot of like references of African-inspired jewelry, African art pieces, again, put together in what she's wearing. Erykah Badu, I don't know if anyone is familiar with Erykah Badu, she's an amazing artist, but also known for collaborating with up-and-coming jewelry designers to make big, bold statement pieces, hair, jewelry pieces as well. Billie Eilish is obviously representing for this generation, looking at jewelry and accessory pieces. But this is going back, I've put in the corner, on the top left-hand corner, I don't know if anyone remembers or knows of Rick James. Put your hand up if you know who Rick James is. Great. Rick James was the precursor to like Prince. So he was very much known for his like fabulous flamboyant style, ostentatious fashions. But he was also known for wearing a lot of big jewelry pieces in terms of earrings, dripped in terms of like chains, etc. So that was a precursor to Prince, of which you can see with the next slide, which I'm going to show you in a second, how men and male pop stars obviously incorporated with jewelry. Obviously, that's an iconic picture with Queen Bee, Beyonce, wearing Schiaparelli, okay? Music and hip hop go together, jewelry and hip hop go together. So like the late 90s, early 2000s, does anyone remember, for those of you who are old enough to remember, does anyone remember Bling Bling and Ice and all that sort of stuff? So again, throwing references back to the hip hop culture. So Notorious B.I.G. or Biggie Smalls or whatever you want to call him, they're representing. And if we go to the next slide, the top middle, Lil' Kim, also a very iconic figure, wearing lots of jewelry, chains. And again, the big thing in the sort of like late 90s, early 2000s was when hip-hop artists were very much, with their fashion wearing, and they talked about labels of what they're wearing. There's a reference in Lil' Kim's song, I can't remember which one it was, but she talks about wearing ice around her neck. And again, that's basically represented there. Obviously looking at labeling like with Chanel and things like that also. If you remember, I talked about jewelry and film, the Gentleman Prefers Blondes with Marilyn Monroe. Obviously, that has been re-referenced again with Madonna in the Material Girl video. I don't know if anyone has seen that. And I believe another artist has done another version of I think it was Megan Thee Stallion, who's done a version of that particular look, but obviously with a different type of dress. Again, paying homage to the older films that should come out. Men's jewelry, obviously with musicians, obviously Lenny Kravitz, Justin Bieber, and Harry Styles. So again, playing with gender lines a little bit in terms of jewelry also, but obviously giving it a bit of a different expression. Okay? This is my world now, jewelry and fashion. There's been so many iconic advancements with jewelry and fashion. One of the biggest partnerships that came through was with Sean Lean. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the jewelry designer Sean Lean and his partnership with Alexander McQueen. They have created so many iconic moments on the runway. So from structured and sculptural pieces of like bodices to oversized jewels, there was fantastic collaboration which went on through time. And then obviously there's a collection of collaboration with Karl Lagerfeld and Swarovski, Jean-Paul Gaultier and Swarovski, and even if we're moving it to more modern times, Jacob & Co. with the brand, which obviously is the infamous watch brand, which is again linked to hip hop and street culture, have partnered up with sportswear brand or streetwear brand Supreme. A couple of other references of jewelry and the runway. These two images here on the right relate to, they don't really do it anymore, but does anyone remember runway rocks that Swarovski used to put together? So these were shows where they would do really sort of avant-garde statement piece jewelry, working with people, as I mentioned, like Sean Lean, Johnny Rocket, amongst others. And these are kind of like really out there pieces which they would celebrate, okay? And a couple more pieces. So the lady on the left there is, let me just check my notes so I can get the name right, is... It's a collaboration with Anna Della Rosso and H&M. They did a collaboration a while ago showcasing oversized jewels and accessory pieces. Again, making jewelry and fashion accessible, okay? Jewelry and culture now. Obviously, jewelry has different types of meanings depending on what culture you're in. From, you know, in Native America, the wearing of like topaz represents kind of protection. And they use like certain animals like hawks, etc., which represents protection. In African culture, my mum is African, from Tanzania. A lot of people wear a lot of big tribal pieces, and that kind of reflects on status. So I just want to kind of quickly guide you through these a little bit. And some reference points here to look at as well, in terms of jewelry and culture. As I mentioned, African jewelry features fabrics. As you can see, they sometimes mix with different types of metals. Native American jewelry includes sacred imagery like wolves and turquoise for protection. And on my next slide, oh, I have got it on there. In Chinese culture, they wear a lot of sort of like red and mystical, like with dragons as well. Again, looking at sort of like protection and status as well. Okay. It's worth noting that in Indian culture, like Indian gold and Indian jewelry pieces, that's much more a representation of status. So again, the bigger the gold or the collection of the heritage of it is the status factor that they have in India, okay? Leading into cultures, we've got subcultures and street style. A lot of people, obviously, again, I love looking at street style and I love looking at subcultures because this is where a lot of the emerging trends come from as well. Again, I've mentioned about hip hop, a lot of hip hop culture in terms of like early hip hop with music and videos with people like LL Cool J, Run DMC with the big oversized gold chains. That's now coming back. I don't know. What's really interesting is, because I'm Gen X, but put your hand up if everyone's Gen X here. Anyone? Or just me? Okay, so I'm Gen X. So what's interesting is my students happen to be Gen Z. And what's really interesting is that they're getting a lot of references from what I used to wear when I was younger. So I used to, not so much now, but I used to dress very similar to LL Cool J with the, you know, the hats and the oversized chains. And I'm coming into my classes and I'm seeing students replicating that because, again, it's that nostalgia and obviously giving it a bit more of a modern twist. Again, with different types of subcultures, punk obviously was synonymous with like chains, padlocks, pins, etc. Again, that's kind of re-referencing back and forward as well. And I had a very interesting conversation with my dear friend in the audience, Kyle, where we were talking about new romantics and how brooches are coming back into fashion. If you remember the old Spandau Ballet videos or Duran Duran, where they used to wear really big oversized shirts, and they would use like a pin brooch or pins to kind of like add as a decorative piece, okay? And then moving it forward in terms of like more around sort of subcultures in terms of queer culture, again, the kind of blending of the gender lines with drag and also, again, jewelry which has become a bit more sort of genderless and men or women can wear it, okay? I thought this was interesting to look at as well because not only has obviously jewelry got a cultural reference, it's also been involved in politics. Now, does anyone remember a while ago, I think it was, I can't remember the exact election, but Michelle Obama was being interviewed and she had a necklace on. And you can't really see it on the image because it was the way it's cropped, but there was a necklace that she's wearing. It's a very famous image, actually. It's a necklace, I can't remember the designer. I think it's Balmain, I'm not sure. But she had a necklace on that said, vote. So subliminally telling people, like, through the interview that she's doing, during the run-up of an election with wearing a necklace saying vote. But also, jewelry has been used for, again, political movements. There's a brand, a small London-based designer that basically does a lot of work around sort of like queer and sort of trans rights, and again, using jewelry as like a political motion or political statement. In ancient Egyptian times, jewelry was referred to, again, with status and political alignments. And again, I've got a couple of like famous politicians there with like brooches and so on as well, okay? So it's really interesting. You would think that something which is so small that we wear that's like a day-to-day piece of, an accessory or an item that we wear on a daily basis has gone through so many different sort of transitions and have been involved in so many different sort of areas in life, which I find it interesting when we're researching this. The image here was obviously looking at peace signs. This represents from during the time at the Vietnam War. Again, jewelry being worn as a statement for a political statement in terms of like, make peace, not war during the Vietnam War. Okay, I work in trends, so I've got to give you a little bit of trend insight, which is, that's what you're here for. So just to talk a little bit about some of the key things which are happening. So you're seeing there's a whole rise of body jewelry, adornments, kind of like, kind of covering the body. Minimalism seems to be a big thing as well. There was a previous speaker that was talking about the notion of personalization and novelty and nostalgia. Which I actually think is quite true, actually, because we are, especially with Gen Z and some millennials as well, we are getting to the point now where we want to have our own individuality. We want to have our own point of difference. So, again, there's a whole reference and love affair with nostalgia, going back from things like brooches, pins, etc. Okay? And also, there's a brand here which is called Crystal Haze even. And I love what they do. It's like taking like small sort of like kids pieces and making them into like jewels, which is quite fabulous. Okay. As we are in Germany, I thought we'll celebrate some jewelry designers in Germany as well, what they're doing. There's a whole thing with German design. I think generally when people think about German design, they think about excellence, clean designs, very sort of like minimalistic. But I wanted to take a showcase just to kind of pay homage to some of the German designers that are out there. And there's a whole rich heritage to German design as well, like from the Fabergé eggs right down to, the clean designs which are coming through as well. And here's just a few sort of selections of jewels here. The item in the middle is by, on the top middle is by Thomas Sabo. Again, it's kind of like fusing like craftsmanship and technicality. And again, it's just looking at different movements and history of jewelry. Okay, so for those of you who are out here in the audience, how do you create your own jewelry store moment? Pretty easy. Like, it's about partnering up with people like stylists. I've been a stylist for a number of years. So it's working with stylists, getting them involved around getting your items, whether you're a jewelry designer or whether you're an upcoming designer or whether you are a retailer that wants to have your items mentioned or worn in certain programs or influencers. Getting involved with a stylist enables you to do that, but also keeping an eye on the zeitgeist as well. So what I mean by zeitgeist is like what's happening, what's hot, what's now. So keeping your eyes and keeping your fingers on the pulse will enable you to find moments which you can jump on and create for yourselves, okay? Partnering up with influencers. So if you are a brand that wants to target a younger consumer, partnering up with influencers that obviously aligns with your brand, because let's not forget, people are very suspicious when they are doing partnerships, which are like, well, hold on a second, why are they talking to them for? So if you are going to partner with an influencer, make sure that the brand and the partnership is actually something which is superficial, as beneficial, and obviously not superficial. Okay. So I'm going to give you some summaries and tempo. Oh, this went quicker than I expected. Some summaries and takeaways. Obviously, jewelry is an expression. It's all about self-expression. Well, obviously, we looked at the history of jewelry, again, looking at the spanning history of cultures and politics, and how it's obviously seen as a status, as the fashion changes. Jewelry also endures a personal reflection to the wearer as well. Okay? That's my presentation. Thank you very much. Very short and sweet. But I am open for questions.